Let me tell you about the dumbest geopolitical move of this administration. The United States seized Venezuela, captured Maduro, and promised Americans 300 billion barrels of oil, cheap gas, and energy independence. And guess what? Not a single major oil company wants to touch it. Not Exxon, not Chevron, not Shell. Meanwhile, while we were in Caracas, China locked down 90% of the world's rare earth supply. This is how Trump fumbled the resource war of the century. Trump called it the deal of the century. But here's the reality they didn't tell you. Venezuela's oil infrastructure is obliterated. Years of sanctions turned it into a graveyard. The oil itself is some of the worst in the world. Thick, heavy tar that requires special refineries we don't have. The pitch to oil companies wasn't print money. It was spend hundreds of billions rebuilding from scratch in a war zone for low-grade oil that sells at a discount. Exxon's CEO told Trump it's uninvestable. They'd need permanent U.S. troops guarding the fields, legal guarantees against nationalization, and massive subsidies. Even then, they said no. And get this, the administration immediately lifted the very sanctions on Venezuelan oil they said were about human rights. Turns out, sanctions were never about morals. They were a lever. And once we control the oil, the lever disappears. The world sees this as pure resource imperialism. While we played soldier, China played economist. They spent decades locking down the resources that actually matter. Rare earths, lithium, cobalt, silver. Not with invasions, but with patient investment in refining. China now controls 90% of refined rare earth supply. These minerals aren't just for phones. They're in every F-35 jet, every electric car, every solar panel. They've already weaponized this, cutting off Japan in a dispute. Imagine that leverage against the US. Recently, they restricted silver exports. Silver is critical for solar panels and EVs. China isn't just controlling supply. They're holding a kill switch for Western manufacturing. This shows the fundamental difference in strategy. America, short-term, military-driven, reactive, invade, seize, hope corporations follow, plan in election cycles. China, long-term, economic-driven, strategic, build supply chains, create dependencies, become indispensable, plan in decades. China didn't win by being smarter. They won by being more patient. They saw oil was the past. The minerals for the green and digital future are everything. So now, America is stuck. We occupy a country whose oil we can't use. To compete with China, we'd need to spend trillions we don't have to rebuild industries they spent 30 years perfecting. That money comes from debt and printing, making inflation worse. Meanwhile, China uses its $3 trillion reserves to tighten its grip. We're decoupling, and we're not ready. We fought wars for oil while they built the supply chains for the 21st century. Trump's Venezuela gamble was supposed to project power. Instead, it exposed our weakness. You don't win resource wars with regime change anymore. You win them with supply chains. So ask yourself, who has more power? The country that invaded for useless oil, or the country that controls the minerals in your phone, your car, and your weapons? I think you know the answer, and if that scares you, it should. The first step to fixing a problem is admitting we have one. So what does this all mean for you? It means the ground is shifting beneath our feet. The era where America could simply muscle its way to resources is over. The real currency of power is no longer just the barrel of oil. It's the supply chain. While Washington celebrated a hollow victory in Caracas, Beijing secured the building blocks of the next century. Our grand, theatrical gesture has left us with an expensive occupation and a handful of tar. Their quiet, patient strategy has given them control over the elements that power everything from your smartphone to the national grid. This isn't about partisan politics. It's about a fundamental failure of long-term vision. We're stuck in a 20th century playbook of tanks and coups, while our primary competitor is mastering the 21st century game of economic statecraft and industrial policy. The wake-up call isn't coming. It's already here, ringing in the form of controlled minerals and restricted exports. The question now is whether we'll finally start listening, or if we'll keep chasing the next flashy, useless headline while the foundation of our future is shipped overseas.